One day, I had an inmate who had that wide-eyed, thousand-yard stare with a very unsettling smile on his face most of the time. During one of my checks, I offered him a styrofoam container with some bread and cold cuts. He hadn't been eating, so I was happy to see him take it. He opened the container, removed the bread and stared at me through the glass from about a foot away. I saw him reach behind his nude body and watched his face strain a bit. When he brought his hand back up, he was holding mushy shit, which he smeared on the bread and then pressed the two slices together, while continuing to stare into my eyes and smile. He took a huge bite from his homemade shit sandwich. I was in disbelief and walked away halfway gagging. When I returned a few minutes later with some more deputies, the sandwich was gone and he was licking his fingers. I work in a juvenile detention facility. We had to put a kid in a secure room, think padded walls with a camera, because he was self-harming. When you do that, you remove everything they can self-harm with, so like no pencils or shoelaces or whatever. This dude pulled his braces out of his mouth and started self-harming with the wires. This was a New Jersey youth prison. One time, a prisoner was annoying the shit out of some guards. They told him if he kept it up, they were going to fuck him up. Well, he did in fact keep it up. So 5 guards beat the living shit out of this dude. Afterward, to make it look like a fight, they just picked off some random dude walking down the corridor and destroyed his whole face. Then hit the code for a fight and sent them both to the hole. When I was younger, I had a bit of a bad side and ended up in prison for 3 years, which I only served 18 months of and got out on good behaviour. My cellmate at the time was a man named Davey. Davey was a quiet man usually, but this day he showed me a different side to him. A side that I think hadn't been seen from the day Davey made the mistake that put him in here. Well, that day, during sunlight, a guard who was spectating the tarmac had made Davey feel like a kid with the way he spoke and picked on him in front of the rest of the boys. Davey afterwards told me that he was going to turn the bastard into a teabag. I didn't think he was talking sense and thought he would calm down with time. Not Davey. Davey didn't calm down and drop it. Davey waited 2 months, and when the guard least expected it, Davey attacked the guard from behind. When there were no other guards too close by, Davey waited until he crossed the yard and stabbed a rusty old screwdriver in his back. He stabbed him 23 times before he was tackled to the ground by another guard. I wonder whatever happened to Davey. My dad was a prison guard at an Arizona state prison. They had one real bad dude there, Jamaican guy named Sheepshead. Sheepshead was okay to deal with, but he absolutely did not want a cellmate under any circumstances ever. Due to overcrowding, they eventually had to put a cellie in with Sheepshead. It worked for about 3 days. Then the guards doing morning check find Sheepshead's cell covered in blood and his cellmate mostly gone. Sheepshead had killed him and cut him up and flushed the pieces. The only things left were the skull, pelvis and femurs. He hadn't had time to break them up small enough yet.